As I was going to bed last night, everything was starting to kind of unravel with the Manchester bombing story. And I really should have just gone to bed there and then, but I couldn't help but watch. And it was one of those things where you sort of want everything to be okay, and if you carry on watching it, it might be. And then I kind of watched it for a bit and woke up this morning and saw that everything wasn't okay, and just feel terrible for everyone that's going through this. I mean, I can't imagine what it must be like to lose people in something like that, but also to not know where people are. I mean, to not know whether someone's in hospital, whether they're still alive, you know, your children. It's horrifying, it's really, really scary. And the reason I'm talking about this on a sort of Parkinson's blog, it's relevant, I think, because we've always been a really, really tolerant country, I think, personally. It's always somewhere that I felt safe, especially since I was diagnosed. I felt comfortable to walk around and not felt sort of looked at or judged. More recently, I know I look dodgy, I know I look weird sometimes, you know, I look angular and I look ill at ease. And I'm sure this is something that other people with conditions feel as well, especially something like Parkinson's where you shake, which makes you look like you're nervous. I've had to kind of stop in the middle of train stations, you know, in the underground system. I've had to kind of stop walking suddenly because my foot's cramped up. And then I'm stood there shaking in the middle of a train station. And I'm aware of how dodgy I look. I'm aware of how out of place I look at that point in time, and I see people looking at me. And I hope we don't lose the tolerance. I know people should be vigilant and be aware, and that's how we have to kind of go about life nowadays, but I loved it when people were trusting of each other. And I think that's still there. I think there is still that element in, you know, the people around us, and I'd like to think that people are just looking at me and worrying that I'm okay rather than thinking I'm up to anything, but I know how I'd feel. I know, like, if I saw someone shaking uncontrollably and like looking sort of confused and baffled, that I'd probably expect the worst. I'd feel a bit kind of tentative. I'd probably try to get away from them if I was on a tube train. So I'm guilty of it as well, but I've just heard like Theresa May's speech, and she spoke about tolerance and togetherness and solidarity. And I really, really hope that that continues, because the thought of living somewhere where no one trusts each other and everyone's sort of on edge all the time just fills me with fear. And I know I'm taking something that's in the news and making it incredibly personal, but it's how, you know, life is becoming, and it scares me somewhat. So I guess my message today is, you know, be aware of what's going on around you, but be aware that people that look dodgy and people that look ill at ease might not be up to something terrible. They might just have something wrong with them or what have you. And I know I don't look like your average terrorist, but what is an average terrorist nowadays? You know, everyone is wary of everyone at the moment, and I think it's sad, but I'm hoping it's not the case. I'm hoping that people do still care about each other, and that when people look at me it's because they care and they hope that I'm okay rather than thinking I'm up to something. Just a little musing today, and I'm so sad for everyone that's going through this. It's heartbreaking. And if we have to be more tolerant of each other to stop things from happening, or if we have to be more aware of what's happening around us, then I guess so be it, to stop things like this from happening. But I really hope that we can do it and keep communities and society together.